Hey everybody, welcome back to Manga Mondays, the only manga show that's filmed 5 episodes at a time all on the same day and then staggered across weeks on end, and the only manga review show with a constant threat of helicopter noise. Today I'm going to be talking about, let's see, what should I pull out of my pile of manga stacked up here? Nekogahara. This is a very strange one, and I picked it up specifically because it's by Hiroyuki Takei, creator of Shaman King, and I was just curious about what he's up to these days, because I read the first probably 3 volumes of Shaman King. In fact, I think I have the first 2 right over here, back when I was a kid, when I was like 12, and these were in monthly Shonen Jump in the US, and like, I've always thought they had really cool artwork, but Shaman King has fairly typical shonen art. Like, let me show you some images just so you'll be able to compare. Like, you know, this is not atypical of the genre. Let me find a big fight splash that I know is in this first chapter. Yeah, I remember tracing this page into one of my school notebooks, of him hitting this guy with a giant thing. So like, but Hiroyuki Takei is someone whose art style has evolved a lot over the years. And I remember seeing, I never actually read it, but he had his manga Ultimo that he was doing with Stan Lee. And the art was a lot more wispy and sort of stylized. And then you get to Nekogahara, and I mean, just look at the cover. And I flipped through this thing, and the artwork is fucking insanity. It's drawn all with this, like, with what looks like just a real fountain pen. Like, it's all this inky, blotchy, old school, like, classical style art. And also all the characters are cats. All of them are literally cats. So, seeing, and also it's a samurai story. So just seeing this incredibly odd collage of elements, I had to pick this thing up. I mean, I really do think the artwork is gorgeous, especially in, like, its backgrounds and its more, like, character portrait style stuff. Here, let me show you another good fucking image here. Stuff like this, like, really strong, impressive character art with really great line work that all looks, it's got a deftness to it. Like, each stroke was very purposeful. Now, the funny thing about this is it's about cats. It's in a world where, like, cats basically... It takes place in feudal Japan, and basically cat society is just a downscaled version of human society, but they're existing in the same world as humans. So all of this is taking place parallel to, like, I think the Warring States period, or one of the eras. It might be closer to Nobunaga's period, I'm not sure. So somewhere in the samurai times. I'm not very good with Japanese history, as you can probably tell. But somewhere in samurai times, the cats just have a society that kind of mirrors that of humans. And, like, cats who have been owned by a human have a bell and are, like, you know, considered owned cats. And, like, they're, like, a different kind of class from normal cats. And there's, like, a really rigid caste system. I mean, the whole thing is just a metaphor for the samurai times, but with cats, except that it also takes place in the literal samurai times. It is just about cats being there at the same time. Do you understand how this is, like, weird? It's kind of like a mind fuck to think about. So the cats live in this feudal society, and, like, the thing is that the dialogue in this is, like, laden with cat puns. I mean, I'm sure that the Japanese version was probably mostly just saying nya at the end of lines. English translation, you know, does what they always do and turned it all into cat puns. But, like, the story is a completely serious, violent Chanbara story. Like, the main character is an anti-hero who's fucking insane. He really bears most resemblance to, like, Mugen from Samurai Champloo. He's just like a fucking vicious killer who will murder people. You know, this is not him murdering people. It's just cool-looking art that I flipped to. But, like, let me find a good example of, like, the utter gore and bloodshed that goes down in this fucking manga. I don't want to spoil anything, so I don't want to go too far. But, like, this is a really legitimately violent, insane... There's, like, drug use. Like, catnip is, like, an actual drug that, like, here's him just having slaughtered, like, the first, you know, chapter 1 mid-boss kind of guy. Like, yeah, it's violent as fuck, even though it's about cats. And the main character is like a tortured past kind of samurai. He's like, he's one of the super badass samurais who, like, everyone else in the story just pales in comparison to him. But he's wandering around being he says he's looking for a place to die. But of course he's not just gonna take death lying down, and he's gonna fucking murder anyone who tries to fuck with him. And it has a lot of the same kind of themes of Samurai Champloo, of like not just kowtowing to the demands of society and like being your own free-willed cat and, being a real stray. He's like, there's a very romanticized take on the idea of being a stray cat over being a kept cat or being like a part of a society. And yeah, it's so weird though. Like, I can't quite place it. As you can see, sometimes they represent like beautiful women cats, like these weird, like whenever they're trying to portray a particularly like sexy woman cat, they always look way more humanoid than all the other cats do. Like, there's girl cats who look like cats, and then there's the ones that are like in the whorehouses who look like look like borderline furries, which I think is hilarious and kind of adorable. But the whole thing is madness. Now the problem is that as gorgeous as the artwork is, the fight scenes are borderline incomprehensible. Like, there's just so much going on with the wispy art and, like, so many lines flying in every direction. I'm trying to find a good example of how, like, once a fight breaks out, sometimes it just becomes totally unclear what's happening. And there's just too many lines going in too many different directions. Like this. I don't know what the fuck is happening in this image, but it's totally chaos. It's just like, the already very intricate wispy lines being combined with speed lines on top of that, and just odd compositions of frames makes it so the action is pretty hard to follow. Here's a big splash of him like cutting down a giant, like, it's pretty chaotic. So on the one hand, it's pretty cool because, like, it's a cool Chanbara samurai thing, but then when the actual fights happen, I usually just kind of get lost, and I don't really know what's going on until the dust settles. So the artwork goes back and forth between being, like, incredibly rad, like this, it looks cool, to, like, panels where I don't even know what's going on. So I'm divided about it. On the one hand, it's such a unique and weird concept that I like it. But, the tone is so just implaceable because of the fact that it's both dark and violent and goofy and about cats. And I can't really settle on if it's supposed to be serious or if it's not. Sometimes it feels like it's supposed to be schlocky. It kind of makes, like, the first chapter was particularly hard to follow because the main character in that one comes off as more of like a contemplative, like not traveling monk kind of guy, but he comes off as more of a Jin, and then he turns out to be more of a Mugen, and they portray him more unhinged as the chapters go on, and I think that's when it kind of gets a little bit more into its stride. But by the end of the volume, I really had no idea what to expect, other than that they're introducing some cute girl cat at the very end there, who looks like she might be a badass too. But yeah, if this sounds like something you'd like, give it a shot. If this sounds like something that you'd want to stay away from, or you don't like the art, then I'm not giving this like a glowing recommendation. It's fucking interesting. I just don't quite get it. But I guess that's it. That's your manga for this Monday. Come back next Monday for more manga and helicopters and the same shirt I'll be wearing.